Bardzo dobry zapłaci. Tak jeszcze chwilę rozeberę całą zem. Podchodem wchod, pali ciężkiej błot. Funguje to liteś namazanej stroj. Dokoła je ma niejakiej peremonii. Tu zili cywili jako Niemiec na oroj. Podchodem wchod, pali ciężkiej błot. Funguje to liteś namazanej stroj. Dokoła je ma niejakiej peremonii. Tu zili cywili jako Niemiec na oroj.
So good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad that I see you, and hopefully that we will hear you well. Welcome to day 3 of NERM 2021. At the beginning, I would like to remind you that you are supposed to prepare a short presentation about water retention in your country. So we hope that we will hear a few words from you later. But now, without further ado, let me introduce you to Mr. Jiří Lehejček, who will present to you a lecture about drought and water retention in the landscape. Mr. Lehejček.
Yes, thank you for forward. Thanks to the organizers for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I hope you are having a good conference despite the circumstances around, and you actually having fun. I am a former PhD student of the hosting institution, so it is a double pleasure for me to actually be here with you. And as after my graduation, I slipped a little bit into the agricultural landscape. Today, I'd like to share with you a few slides of the actually a potential of the agricultural landscape in combating climate change, not only the drought issues or water retention issues, but let's say how to build a resilient landscape in general, where the water retention is obviously part of it. I would very much welcome any of your questions during the presentation or after. I hope we'll have a fruitful discussion, so do not hesitate to stop me when talking. I will be sharing my screen, so I'm not sure if I will see you. Actually, I have a second monitor, so I may see your hands up, and do not hesitate to stop me and ask directly. I'll just a quick question. We have 1 hour, correct, to the organizers. So I will try to keep my presentation, let's say, for about half an hour. So there is some time for the later question. Is that okay? Yes, I see
Yes.
that. Yeah, kind of. All right. Now you should be. Sorry, I will just make what I need. So, do you see my presentation?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, good. Well, in a few tens of minutes ahead, we will focus on a climate change adaptation in the agriculture landscape. And besides a general slides introducing you into the topic, I would also like to share with you the ongoing project which we are solving right now, and which is actually touching this issue, this topic very directly. So I hope you don't mind a little advertisement, but it is actually very up to the point. Few intro slides. During the past, say, a little bit less than 100 years, we've been losing a resilient landscape in Europe continuously. Those are the numbers you can see. Those are the numbers for the Czech Republic only, but the trend, the general trend would be very similar for other Eastern European countries, which were part of the communist sphere where the collectivization of the agriculture occurred. And to some extent, they wouldn't be very far from the reality of the Western Europe as well, although the process there hasn't been so abrupt and hasn't been so quick, but the general trend would be very similar. Before we get to the numbers, there are two statements which you probably had over your studies or during those lectures already, but please let me remind that in the conditions of Europe, of the Central Europe, which I can see from the names that probably most of you are, we can still count about the same water amount falling down from the clouds, but we have in total less rainy days. What does it mean? That means that the event of rain is usually heavier. Maybe well, today in Prague and around there is a heavy rain, so that would unfortunately you're not here, but that would be the case. The rains are heavier, which means that the drainage of the water actually is faster. There is not enough soil water retention capacity to cope with the faster drainage, which in turn leads into the drought in the period when there are no when there are not these rainy days. Still, we have the same amount of water, but the summers are warmer than it used to be, which means a higher evapotranspiration and in turn drought again. So those are the conditions we have to live in, and we have to rebuild our landscape in order to be more resilient to the climate change. The numbers I promised to share with you are below. Maybe you already have checked them. The acreage, the average acreage size of the field in the Czech Republic increased 10 times in the last 60 years. You can see the picture behind this slide, and this is actually talking for itself. Those huge fields from one side of the horizon to another side of the horizon, somewhere like in Ukraine, would be more and more reality in Europe as well, in western parts of Europe as well. We have lost 4,000 kilometers of alleys since 50s. We have lost 3,600 hectares of scattered greenery, where those scattered greeneries that would be those solitary trees, little groups of trees in the agricultural land as well. Very important for evaporation, prevention of wind erosion, and so on. We have, what is even more striking, we have lost almost 50,000 kilometers of field boundaries. That is very much connected to the first number. As the acreage of the field is rising, we're actually losing the boundaries, which are preventing the water from the fast runoff, which are increasing evapotranspiration, which are increasing and fostering biodiversity in the agricultural landscape. Very important phenomena also declining. And we've lost 160,000 kilometers of field roads in most of the time, or almost exclusively unpaved, which are also quite an important part, not only for the landscape resilience and slowing down the runoff, but also the kind of a social capital of the rural areas where people cannot go anymore. So 160,000 kilometers, this is 4 times around the globe. So it's quite a significant amount of field roads which is being missed. Again, on the back picture, you can see the stable cadastre of the landscape 100-ish. This would be a bit more, but that would be still there 100 years ago. And you see so many boundaries, so many roads, so many actually features in the landscape which make the landscape more diverse, which make the landscape more green, meaning also the evapotranspiration part of this question, and obviously increasing the organic content of in the soils and preventing the erosion. What can we do in order? This is just a few bullet points, which you probably have been facing or have been confronted with already. But what we can do in order to, not saying come back to this state, because this will never ever come back probably, but to mimic the natural processes in the agricultural landscape, in order to be in parallel with them and not working against them. First point, we desperately need to reduce the synthetic fertilizers and pesticides in the landscape. Nowadays, I have got the numbers again. Sorry for that, for monitoring of the Czech Republic, but the groundwater reservoirs. So there is a Czech Hydrometeorological Institute which is taking care of them, and they report over 40% of the pilot cores which they monitor periodically. They report that over 30% of them are actually having above limits amount of synthetic pesticides coming from the agriculture. So we are with overusing of those substances for the plant protection. We are actually facing the decline of the quality of the drinking water. Then a very important point are meaningful sowing procedures, meaning that you in your 4, 6, 7, 9 years change of the crops on the field, you are actually using also some legumes which are having which are increasing the humus content in the soil, which is able to store more water compared to the soil without organic matter. You are leaving some green manure, you are adding the normal manure or the manure coming from the animal husbandry, and you are fixing your kind of organically fixing the nitrogen into the soil and do not have to add it artificially. Obviously, there is also the high-tech agriculture, which can help with ongoing problems which were mentioned before, which they can help with to prevent the soil compaction. For instance, the tractor, they go every time the same path, and they do not compact the soil on different places. Or there would be the precision farming issues, which uses just enough fertilizers and pesticides for the individual crop and for the individual plant. But those are more, let's say, agro-technical operations, which are important, but they are not enough. If we want to store more water in the landscape, the agricultural landscape is absolutely crucial, because, for instance, in the context of the Czech Republic, the agricultural landscape is something like 2/3 of the country area, and that would be very similar for the other European countries as well. So we need to draw back the borders of the landscape feature. We have to go for, and that's maybe already for the next slide, we have to employ the agroforestry, and this is something what you as a forestry student can actually help to your agriculture colleagues to combine the tree and to combine the trees and or forestry and agriculture together to increase the resilience of the landscape and actually harvest both and have a double benefit from one soil unit. And I'll come back to the previous slide, and then I'll follow. Very important part of the agriculture is animal husbandry. Nowadays, the animal husbandry has moved from the open landscape into the stables, which from the certain point of view is okay, because you have a higher productivity, and there is a decline of price later on. But on the other hand, this is a huge source of the point pollution of the groundwater by antibiotics and so on, because animals which are living close by, they need to be tackled preventionally in order not to get ill. While if they are living close to their natural conditions on a pastures, they are healthier and they are storing the carbon of their manure directly into the field, directly into the landscape, and they are not ill. So there is also the question of the price and intensity, which has to be answered and has to be tackled. Otherwise, we will not build the resilient agriculture, because animal husbandry is an important part of the agriculture, and agriculture cannot, it's not just either planting the crops or breeding the animals. Real agriculture is all together, and is having a closed loops and closed cycles, and this carbon of this ecosystem is constantly kept there and not losing into the atmosphere or anywhere else. I have here the little remark of organic agriculture, which besides other things actually follows all those bullet points I've been talking about. And in some of them is even more extreme, because it's not using synthetic fertilizers and pesticides. It's using only the natural fertilizers and pesticides, which are naturally occurring in the landscape. And there would be other differences, which we unfortunately do not have enough time to go through. But if you are not that much into agriculture, then I would actually say that to follow sustainable agriculture equals to follow organic agriculture. All right, we have shortly talked about the agroforestry and building the biocorridors. And then why should we care? I present those two pictures. One is from the strictly protected area, which, for instance, in the Czech Republic covers something like 16% of the landscape. And on the other side, we have the agricultural land or arable land, sorry, that should be arable land, which is covering around half of the country. While the governments, and this is not only the Czech case, but in Europe in general, while the governments usually play a very good role in keeping the resilient landscape in the protected areas, they completely fail in managing or applying sustainable practices on the agricultural land and arable land in particular. That's the reason why we actually should focus more on not more, but we should actually focus also, or with a similar importance to the arable land as well, or agricultural land, because there is a huge potential. A few numbers. This is coming from the Research Institute of Soil, the first bullet point. Nowadays, the soil in the conditions of the Czech Republic, and again, I don't have the numbers in my hand, but I do believe that they wouldn't be very much different for the other European countries as well. So the soil water retention capacity is on a 50% or 53% of its actual potential. Potential is that every cubic meter of fertile soil is able to hold 400 liters of water. So 1 cubic liter is actually 1,000 liters of space, and 40% of that can be filled by water. While nowadays we are reaching something like 200 liters. Then if someone tells you that the only way how to store the water and make sure that we will have enough water in the future is building the water dams, then you can say, okay, that might be important for the supplies of the drinking water, but for the agriculture, we are at the half of its potential. So at least I think there is much more sense to focus and maintain this number compared to building a new water dams. Another alarming number is the amount of birds in the agricultural landscape. This is the graph you can see. The Czech ornithologists are checking this number since 1982. And you see there was a heavy use of the pesticides until 1989. Then there was a lack of pesticides, but then with increased economic activity and increased economic wealth of the country and the farmers as well, there is a heavy fertilizers and pesticides use again. And you can see the gradual decline of the birds living in the agricultural landscape. So, and the birds are actually the umbrella species or umbrella order for the biodiversity. That's why they are studied. At the same time, you see the increase of glyphosate use, which is one of the most common pesticide used in the agriculture in Europe. There's been some talks about its ban, but it hasn't gone through in the European Parliament a few years ago. And there'll be another call or another try again soon, because it has only the conditional allowance for a few years. But let's see the discussion. About half of the Czech soils are endangered by erosion. Almost half of the soils are compacted, and this number, the fifth bullet point, I have already talked about. 40% of the underground wells show above limit concentration of synthetic pesticides. So in general, we're degrading the natural functions of the landscape, and instead landscape would be part of our solution to the climate change. It is actually part of the threat, part of the issue we are facing. So it would be very wise to move from the landscape which actually is dangerous for its inhabitants to the landscape which is safe for its inhabitants. I hope I'm giving few ideas how to do that, and I'm hoping to give some more. What landscape can offer? There's on this left side you see this picture which is representing the so-called old landscape. On the right side, a resilient landscape, or somewhat resilient landscape. And you see the differences. Landscape can be a source of carbon, as for instance, the Czech forests are nowadays a source of carbon, although usually the trees are, or the trees are still consuming the carbon, but forests in general, in total, are nowadays in our conditions the source of carbon. Same for the landscape. While the landscape can be actually the sink of the carbon. We can have a floods coming from the landscape, or the floods can, or the curve of the flood can be flattened if you slow down the discharges and increase the soil water holding capacity. And also the highest discharge can come later if you have a resilient landscape. That's one topic with the drought. The more you have the more you have a less resilient landscape to floods, the more is also resilient to drought. There is not a big difference in it. You can have a dead soils without any edaphone, or you can have a high biodiversity in a soil, and this is another topic which can be tackled by the issues we are talking about. And obviously erosion, or high soil organic matter, which prevents the erosion, together with a green and biocorridors in the landscape. The reason why we are not more right, why we are not more on this right side of the picture, there's several of them, but if I may talk about the Europe, and I hope I can, because last 5 years I am also a vice chair or vice president of the IFAM Europe, which is the organic agriculture organization lobbying for more sustainable farming practices in Europe. So we can say that one of the main reasons for why we are not more right is the fact of setting of the common agriculture policy, EU common agriculture policy, and especially its national implementation, which is seeking for, let's say, cheap distribution of the money instead of using the principle public goods for public money. There is 40% of the EU budget goes to the common agriculture policy, and we do not really see the reflection of such a huge amount of resources in the landscape. So this would be one of the most important blocks. And nowadays, maybe you can recall that there is a negotiation of the new common agriculture policy in Brussels, and now also in the member states. There are national strategic plans, which is basically the implementation of the common agriculture policy on the member or the Bundesland level. And we can see some significant improvement, but still the ambitions and the amount of resources are not fully taken into account, because this is really a huge amount of money which is going into the landscape, and we are not using it effectively. What can actually change the overall setting, or at least the people who would like to see the landscape managed organically or sustainably, they give their hope into so-called European Green Deal, which you probably heard a lot, and it's climate change strategy, which is in a prefix saying maybe a little bit strange sentence, but on the other hand, there is everything as well that EU wants to be by the 2050, wants to mitigate what cannot be adapt to, and EU has to be adapted to what cannot be mitigated. Sorry for the English, there was a wrong translation. Not only the climate neutral continent by 2050, but also climate change adaptation and mitigation by the 2050 as well. A very important part of the European Green Deal is so-called farm to fork strategy. There are some 2030 targets which are quite ambitious, and we are hoping that the common agriculture policy will actually follow its direction. There is a aim of 50% pesticides reduction in the landscape. Same for the nutrient losses. The nutrients losses are coming from the fertilizers. So they are not saying that there has to be 50% of the reduction of the fertilizers, but there has to be a 50% of the nutrient losses reduction. Antimicrobial resistance coming mainly from the antibiotics for the animal husbandry, another 50% reduction, and most importantly, maybe 25% or 1/4 of the total agricultural land in EU should be managed organically by 2030, which is a big shift. Nowadays, we have something about 7% in the whole EU managed organically, and there is aim to be in 9 years or 10 years on a 1/4. What can we do? What can we do if we are not if we are not having the tools of setting up the common agriculture policy more sustainably? And now I'm coming to the project I was introducing briefly before. We focus on the landowners. In many European countries, there is a significant share of the landowners who are not actually managing their land directly, but they are leasing their land. And they can do a lot with leased land. They can put some tenure agreements. They can put conditions into tenures. And this we think is a big power. In the Czech Republic, 73% of the land is actually leased, and 73% of the land is not managed by their owners, but the tenures or the leasing companies or the farmers themselves. So this is a huge potential in it. And before I continue, I'd like to ask you, is there any one of you who is owning the agricultural land or has a close relatives like parents or grandparents who are owning agricultural land? Not talking about the forest now, but agricultural land only. Could you raise your hands, or those of you who are owning land or your families? No one? I see. Okay. I see their hand. Okay. And good. I don't see all of you at once, so that might be more. So you can also think, what all can you do with such a land? And I hope to give you some hints which you can which you can come further. We don't have to go over this. This is the historical reason for the fact that only one quarter of the Czech land is actually managed by their owners. This is the main reasons behind is the land reform in 1920s, which was the first big shift of the land ownership in 20th century. Then a huge displacement of the Sudeten Germans after the Second World War. 3 million of Germans abandoned their land. Obviously, not everybody of them was owner of the soil, but many of them. And there has been some kind of the vacuum, which was even enlarged after the nationalization and collectivization of land in the 1950s. So basically, nobody could manage their land, and this was done via huge agriculture companies owned by the state. And the restitution, meaning the return of the soil and other properties into the private ownership in the 1990s after the Velvet Revolution, doesn't change much in a sense of the independent farming on the land, because there has already been torn connections between the generation, lack of knowledge, and in general, discouragement of agriculture, and rather doing another jobs, which is actually happening all over the world and all over the Europe, that the young people are not very much attracted by the agriculture, which I'm not surprised. This is not a high-end sector of the knowledge. It's not attracting the best brains of the students. And if you do not own the land, then going for the agriculture faculty might not look as a very potential job. Although, at least in Europe, this is a very beneficial sector, which can make you quite independent on an office life as well. But back to the project. This is a 7 institutions solving this issue, how to make the landscape more resilient via empowerment of local stakeholders and especially landowners. There's 3 universities, 2 research institutes, one private company, and association of the private agriculture, which is the Farmers Union of the farmers in Czech Republic. So quite heavy consortium. And there is 3 pillars of the research. First of them is a survey of the owners, with the owners of land. We are trying to seek for their, sorry, I quickly skipped this, but we are trying to seek for their motivations, for their barriers, why they are actually not taking a better care of their land, because what we're trying to offer them is the view that on one hand you can for instance, have an apartment where you don't live but you rent it, and you also don't want the new people in your apartment to completely destroy your ownership or your property. And that should be the same with the soil. If you're renting out the soil, you should keep in mind that the farmer who is managing the soil should manage it sustainably. Otherwise, when you get it back after the end of the contract, you may also end up with the barren land, which is not able to produce the food anymore. So that would be the survey of the owners for the barriers and motivations to manage sustainably. We check various questions, but I will not bother you with that because this is only the preliminary results yet. The same is done with the municipalities. There is in many many countries or almost everywhere, municipalities are part of the overall land ownership, and they very often are an example or are somewhat are influencer in nowadays speech of the other people in a village. So if, for instance, the municipality decides to manage its land organically or in other ways sustainably, and talk to the farmer which is leasing their land, then other people in the village can follow it, and it can be like a snowball which is turning, and more landowners are actually changing its habit and taking more care of their land. The third focus group are the farmers, obviously, because we need to see their arguments. What are the barriers of managing the land more sustainably? We need to see what is, in their point of view, the biggest challenges they are facing, and we are trying to give the answers on those challenges and actually provide something like a cookbook or landowners guidelines, which help the landowners to orient into the lands in the environment of agriculture land ownership, and help them to start their transition. Because it is very important to mention that for so many landowners, having the land is, for instance, it's 1 per mile, or not even 1% of their incomes. Those are the people going to the jobs, those are the people working normally, and besides that, they also have the land, and they have from this land maybe 200 euros, 500 euros a year, not more, if we are talking of a few hectares. And that's why we need to prepare them the playing field very straightforward and very easy to understand and user-friendly in order to actually start the change. So the communication and motivation is very important. That's the 6th pillar of the project, and obviously the information web portal where I kindly welcome you, plastikvoodoo.cz. As the project goes 1 year only so far, there is basic information, but there'll be coming more and more. We're planning a map application so the landowner can actually find its parcel, which is not always the case. There'll be a civil science project. There'll be the e-learning course. There'll be other interactive parts of the web, and there'll be a lease agreement generator where actually the owner of the soil of the land can generate the new tenure agreement and discuss with the farmer which is taking care of his land. Good. And what are the nowadays what we think are the main motivations of the owners also coming up from the surveys? First is lease. So first one is lease, which is basically the money. The second one are goods. Some of the owners, they are getting, potatoes and other agriculture crops for their land from the farmers instead of money. Some of them are feeling that this is a legacy they got to take care of their parents and grandparents, and they want to give it to their children in a good state. This is the group we would like to work more, and especially younger generation can see in the agricultural land also the possibility to climate change mitigation and adaptation. And surprisingly, the generation of 40 to 60 is owning the majority of the land in our country, and this is already the generation you can talk and try to introduce those issues. I've been talking quite extensively about the lease agreements. This is the direct tool which the owner of the soil can actually apply and talk about with his farmer. But there are other possibilities which there are more detailed possibilities which you can use in this lease agreement. There is a methodology of monitoring soil conditions before the lease and after the lease. It is quite costly. It's €300 a hectare, which is not cheap, which is basically the income you get from your hectare per year. So that's quite unfortunate, but it can be the way for the, let's say, bigger landowners, or for the municipalities as well, or for the ministries which can actually subsidize this this cost. There can be another way how to increase the sustainability use of your soil would be that you actually want from your farmer some landscape elements like agroforestry I was talking about, or the individual tree plantation, not plantation in a sense of a heavy industrial tree plantations on the agricultural land, but really the plantation of the individual trees on the agricultural land. But this is quite important. You need some projects, and it is quite difficult for the expertise, but it's quite easy to control. And the third possibility is to want the organic farming on your land, which needs a little bit of change of paradigm, because not all the farmers are very much willing to convert from conventional to organic. But it's supported by the legislation. It is controlled by the independent control bodies and supervised by the local or national ministries and the European Commission as well. So it is very easy for the owner to actually control if his land is managed organically. So, but overall, this is just a few hints, and there is many other options to do for the owner, or to use for the owner. And in the end, this is always the balance between the price, availability, time, allowance, and obviously also the local conditions of the soil. Yes, I think we can. Let me just check what is the time. Yes, we are almost. There's almost 3 o'clock. So I think I've gone through the most important parts. I missed 2 slides which are not that important. So I would like to thank you now for your attention. And if you have any questions or any points to discuss, or criticism, or other issues you would like to raise, I will be more than happy to go through and try to discuss with you or answer.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. We still have some time, so if you would like to show some more slides, it's no problem. But if there are some questions, we are open for the discussion. So,
well, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Thank you very much for the presentation. It was very interesting. And lately, I've been thinking quite a lot of what the forestry sector can learn from the agriculture sector. And I would like you maybe to reflect on this issue, if you have any ideas.
Thanks. That's a very interesting question. I wish I had more time to think about it and prepare the answer. How can foresters or forestry sector learn from the farmers or agriculture? I'm sorry, there's nothing on top of my head. Both sectors are very conservative, and if you don't mind, I would like to. I would try to think more and maybe write my answer to Marek, and he can distribute it later on. I don't want to give just some. I don't want to use a shortcut which I'm not prepared to, and I don't feel I'm able to answer right now properly.
Well, that's great. I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I hope you are not discouraged by my answer, and you will try it. Any one of you will try another question, which I can hopefully be more ready to answer or to discuss.
Well, I have another question then.
Okay, go on, please.
Yes, no, I'm thinking because in your presentation, as I understand it, so the people who are renting the land, the actual farmers, because I guess they can also see that, okay, something is happening here with, I don't know, the fertility of the land, with climate change coming, with drought. But when you have done maybe you've only been talking with the landowners, but what do you think about the people who do they also feel a responsibility, or is it just, okay, let's maximize the yield and then the problem is for future generations?
And are you asking about the farmers or about the landowners?
No, about the farmers.
About the farmers, yes. They see the issue, that's for sure. They can see the change, and in general, most of the farmers, especially those which are united in this private farmers union, which is usually the smaller family farms, they can see the change. But there's two issues which kind of prevent them from doing more. Number one is that most of the land they just lease, which is the other side problem that I was just talking, because they don't want to really invest into the soil which do not belong to them. So that's one problem. If the owner comes and say, okay, I give you these conditions and I want you to pay me maybe a bit more, then they would invest, because it would actually make sense then economically. And then the second point is also economic. As I said, agriculture can be very profitable, but it can be very profitable only in a case that you own or you manage a lot of land. But if you do not process the food afterward or the products, and if you do not sell directly, then the margin or the premium you're actually making it's very small. And every investment from the own pocket of the farmer is actually threatening the economic viability of the farm. So they're saying, if we are doing a bit more, then we might not survive to the next year, or in 5 years we might just die economically, and that doesn't make any sense to us. So they're asking for the more support, those who are conscious about these issues I was talking about. They are asking for more support from the common budget, from the common agriculture policy budget, which is there. The budget is there. This is not extra money. This is just a question of a reallocation of those money and a conditionality behind those money. And this must be done from top, because if we go to business as usual, and we are just paying the money or half of those money based on acreage or the number of animals without any or just very easy to fulfill conditions, there will not be any change. So yes, back to your question, yes, the farmers are aware, but they are very, let's say, they are very angry if societies in general saying, you are the troublemakers. You are those who are actually responsible for the current state of the landscape. This is not true. We should, and it's the same for the foresters. We should, or the general society need to change the vocabulary and need to change the language to the landscape managers, doesn't matter if farmers or foresters, because those are the people who can actually make the landscape resilient again, if we use the Trump word. Yeah, I hope I answered your questions. Your question.
Yes, very interesting. And if to follow up on that, you can see that, well, you have the solution. I guess you have both the farmers, they see the problem and they want to change. You have the money, and as you say, you also have the landowners. You can also talk about them. So it seems like a perfect project where you can like start to creating bridges there. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. I would. There is one more stakeholder, and this is agricultural lobby, and this is working against all those ideas. I'm not, I'm not crying about it. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it's not possible, but together with the pharmacological lobby and the car industry lobby, the agricultural lobby is considered to be in top three most powerful lobby groups in Europe because of the huge. Sorry. Šimone, můžeš mě prosím tě zavřít, já neslyším, no? Šimone, nebo Hani? Já zavřu. And I'm sorry for that. Where did I stop? Yeah, and this lobby is obviously seeing the budget, and you can get the budget for the agriculture policy quite easily, as you get it as the farmers are getting it today, or you can get it with a lot of conditions, which makes then the profitability much more difficult as well. This is the question of knowledge transfer, horizontal and vertical as well. And we should keep in mind that those huge agro companies, they are profiting, but at the same time, they are having a huge loans for the agricultural land, which they have been buying continuously in the past years and decades. And if you make their profitability endangered, then they start to scream, and a lot can happen. So the playing field is not that easy as we would like it to be.
Well, that's also very interesting. Then you can target the banks as well, I guess, if you want to achieve change.
Sorry, could you repeat?
No, I mean, then you can also target the banks, the financial institution who are lending money to those big cooperatives or corporations.
Thank you for that idea. This is a topic I never actually studied, and I never actually thought about. But this is definitely something which needs to be considered in order, to achieve the change or the transition, make the landscape resilient. Yeah, the banks are more and more interested in the sustainable investments and financing the sustainable practices. So there might be a chance to actually talk to them and prevent them, for instance, giving another money to those who are not willing to manage their land sustainably. That's actually a great idea, and I thank you very much for that. I'll discuss it with my colleagues. We never talk about it.
Oh, you're welcome.
So
All right.
Thank you very much to Mr. Lehejček. And do you have any other questions? So you don't have to hesitate to ask if you have some. There is one question in chat. So should I read it or do you see it?
I can see that.
Okay.
What would be the first policy thing to convert from the conventional to organic? Thank you for that question. Actually, in order to support organic, there are three things. So first, you need more public support from the Common Agriculture Policy. This is not a big issue. This is just a transversion of the money from one place to another. But it will not happen as easy as that. You need also, as the organic agriculture is a knowledge and high knowledge based sector, you need advisors, and you need in general to build up robust advisory services. So this is not a question of months or now first years, but this is question actually of 5-10 years to make these services that farmers are assisted in conversion, because as I say, it is not then just applying pesticides in a certain amount and a certain day, but this is much more. And this is first advisory services, then, and also research is needed, because we still do not have all the plant protection products for all the from all the varieties nowadays on the market. So there are still some barriers to be overcome, but obviously, as you could see on the shelves in grocery shops, there is a huge and increasing amount of organic food. And the last but not least, to increase this potential of the push-pull effect, there is a green public procurement, which from your field from the forestry field can be that, for instance, the public institutions are building from FSC wood, and is the same for the organic for the canteens in the public institutions, schools, ministries, army, elderly houses, and so on and so on. And they can purchase organic food in a certain percentage and increase this percentage within the time, and this can again be like a snowball, or can make the organic cheaper on the shelves as well, and can use this economy of scale later on, and make the organic affordable to the general public, because in the Western Europe the changes or the difference in prices between 10 or 30%, but in the Eastern Europe, this organic food is still considered as a little bit snobby, because in certain areas of food, the organic is twice as expensive as a conventional food, which is not the way how you want to incorporate the externalities. That's what I'm often using, that if you're buying a conventional food and you're subsidizing the conventional food, then actually with all this biodiversity decrease, water quality decrease, and so on and so on, this has to be then tackled with the taxpayers' money in the end, and the price of the conventional food on the shelf is not the real price. It's the price minus the external payments the society has to do in later on. While for the organic food, the difference, you're paying actually also the extra effort of the farmer, and less externalities caused by the farmer, and but you're paying it already. So this is an unfair competition in a way, and this would be the fourth pillar of the strategy I would like to shortly. I went shortly through. All right, I'll write in a chat my email if you didn't get it in the last slide of the presentation. And please, if you are more interested in this topic, do not hesitate, come back to me, as I see no more questions at the moment. And I would be very happy to answer them. And I also promise I'll think of the first question I got. I'm not saying I can give the nice answer, as I don't know any. I have to make a note for and if I come up with something which I would think is smart, I will come back to you. So thank you very much for your attention. It was a pleasure to be here with you. And if Honza now gives me a signal, I would disconnect him in a few seconds.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Lehacek. And there is one raised hand from Johannes.
I thought it was like this.
Okay.
Yes, I was just clapping and saying thank you.
Thank you. Yeah,
thank you very much.
Yeah,
but you don't have to disconnect right away. We will have some discussion about water retention projects in other countries. So feel free to stay here.
Thank you for the offer. We have the family visit actually who just arrived. So
okay.
I'm very sorry, but if you can send, I see you are recording the meeting. So if you can send it to me afterwards, I would be happy to podcast it when I'm driving, for instance, once in a while.
Very cool.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll send it to you.
Bye.
Goodbye. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your meeting.
So, and as I mentioned minutes ago, there should be some presentations from other LCs about drought and water retention projects in your country. So, is anyone here that wants to start their presentation? You don't have to be afraid.
Yeah, I think we have a small presentation.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay. Give me a second. Okay. Yes, we don't have a specific project or something like that, but my computer really likes to share the screen on Zoom. He really likes that. We had a severe drought, 2018 and 2019 in Germany, and there it hit the National Park Hainich in Germany very hard, and that's what we want to show you. Yes, I don't make it in the presentation mode. Yeah. Here you can see where the big arrow is showing where the national park is in Germany. That's Germany here.
Johannes, are you there? I guess he lost the connection. So let's wait a few minutes.
Okay, I guess he will reconnect soon, or I hope at least.
Okay, so maybe in the meantime, I can show a few slides.
Yeah, please. Sure.
Yeah, because I'm from the same country as the host country, so I made little few slides about my current residential country, which is Spain. And actually, it's not in the landscape, but it's a little project in Madrid. It's in the capital of Spain, and I will just share the slides. Wait a minute. Where is present here? Do you see it now?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like a little project in a small park in the center of Madrid. Before the situation was there that it's in the middle of the urban area, and there are steep, short slopes next to the buildings, and the soil was compacted there very much, so the water retention was very low. And so during the heavy rains, the soil erosion was very high, and the buildings suffered, or the population suffered with flash floods, and always the basement and the ground floor of the buildings were flooded. So that's why they decided to make this little project. And the objectives of this project was the regeneration of the park landscape, elimination of the significant reduction of runoff process, and to keep the water in the soil. Then the reduction of the volume of water with high levels of suspended matter, and demonstration of efficiency of new water sensitive material and rainwater management techniques. That were the objectives. I didn't find many photos, but this is just like 2 photos from the installation of the floor material that retains the water better from the rain. And yeah, the solutions were restructuring or replacement of the eroded and compacted soil, as I said. They replaced the pavements from concrete, and they replaced them by permeable surfaces, as you might have seen on the photo here. And they were re-establishing the vegetation there, especially in the eroded areas, and installing the underground storage tanks under the pavements. And it resulted in the better water retention in this park. So like it doesn't suffer so much floods, and also the wastewater system is less occupied with the sediment material that was always flushed with the runoff. And also because the soils are now more moisture, so also the heat of the urban area is especially in summer period is lower, so it improves the quality of the living for the inhabitants there. And yeah, of course, the infiltration capacity increased, and it's much better now. And yeah, this was just all what I prepared, nothing more. How can I, okay, here.
Yeah, thank you very much. Does anyone have any question on Shimon? Or
I actually don't know much more about it. This is just all what I found.
It seems that you do. And can see Johannes is reconnected again, so can he go on with his presentation? Okay, maybe he's facing some more difficulties. Has anyone else prepared his or her presentation?
Yes.
Perfect. Could you show your presentation to us and say something, some few words about it?
Yes.
Very
1
cool.
minute.
Oh, fine.
Stanna där. My dog also wanted to listen, it seems. Okay, I'll share my screen. Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So put on the... Yes. So welcome to Sweden, ladies and gentlemen. I guess when you think about Sweden, you normally do not think about Drought. You think about ABBA or Zlatan Ibrahimovic or something like that. But if you take a look at this picture, what do you see? Do you think it's the Baltic Sea? Or no, it's not actually. This is the third largest lake in Europe. We only have 2 bigger lakes in Russia, and it's called Vänern. And in fact, we have more than 100,000 lakes larger than 1 hectare in Sweden. So we have a lot of water. And in fact, we will get more water because climate change will probably increase the overall precipitation in Sweden. But there is one problem. As in Czech Republic, we will get more problems with summer drought. So in the future, we will have more problems with summer drought. And as you all know, the trees, they want to have water when they're growing during the vegetation period, which will be crucially summertime, spring, and in the autumn. So this is a really serious problem. But for a long time, researchers and also foresters and industry representatives, they had been thinking that climate change is not really a problem. Of course, it's a problem for Earth and humanity, but for the Swedish forestry industry, it might actually be something good. It will increase productivity of the Swedish forest, they thought, because the vegetation period will become longer. And you all know Sweden, we have a lot of winter, a lot of snow, so the trees doesn't really have a long time period to grow. So this was really a good thing. But in recent years, researchers, they have been looking at this and they come to the conclusion that water availability will be very important. And in fact, they've seen that in some parts of Sweden, namely in the south, water availability is already limiting forest growth. And in the future, this problem will be exacerbated. So we will have today nitrogen and nutrient availability is the most important limiting factor to growth in Swedish forests. But in the future, it might change, and water will become a major concern. So if you take a look at this map, you see the green area. And so from the green area and and towards the south. Here, water availability will be limiting, and the growth of the forest will decrease, and also probably the total carbon stock of the forest. But north of this green area, towards the border with Norway, here the productivity will increase because there's sufficient water, and the forest there, they can make use of the longer vegetation period and also of the carbon dioxide fertilization and so on. So there the productivity will increase. But there's a problem in this area. Maybe you heard about this. We have one of the last important large areas with natural forest, which is rich in biodiversity. And at the moment here in Sweden, we are actually talking about that maybe we should preserve this area and make a huge national park there. So in the future, we can't really rely on this area for compensating the loss of production in other places. So to sum up, can we handle it? And this is an important question. We really haven't started thinking about these issues, or at least we started very recently. And so when I heard from you in Czech Republic, you're really thinking about how could we do to increase the resilience of the forest. But in Sweden, we haven't really started, or we have started on a very small scale. And you know, we have large companies and large areas of forest, and we are moving very slowly. But this has to change. We don't really. We're growing a lot of monoculture. We only have 6% mixed forests, and also we have 14% mixed forests with only two, with only pine and spruce. So we really have to start thinking about this, and that is why I also think it's been very interesting to hear what you're doing in Czech Republic. So thank you very much. That was everything.
Thank you very much, Karol. And can I have a question for you?
No, rather not. Yes, of course.
Well, I know that you partially answered it at the end of your presentation, but I will ask anyway. I don't know very much about Swedish forestry, so I would like to ask if your, I don't know, scientists or politicians have some projects on like beetle outbreaks that we have here. If there are some practices what to do when something happens, or if it's just a matter of the future or something like that.
Yeah, that was a very good question. Actually, I was thinking to say something about the bark beetles, because you know, when the problem started in Czech Republic and Germany, people here were thinking, well, that's down there in Central Europe. You know, we know what to do. We can handle the situation. And then, of course, in the last years, we had huge outbreak of bark beetle attacks. Not as big as in your countries, but percentage-wise, they're still quite small. But we're talking about 8 million cubic meters of damage and killed trees the last 2 years. So what we're doing now is that we are mainly trying to do this, I don't know, search and pick. I don't know what you call it. You look up which trees are infected, and then you take them away. But this is difficult because most forest owners, they don't know. It's difficult to see this, and it's really difficult to spot it. So I read somewhere that only 75% of infected trees, they're actually harvested in time to avoid further spreading But now at the moment we're having a huge project, like all the stakeholders, they're coming together and they're having this project called Stop the Beetles, the bark beetles. But I think you can't solve this issue by, in my humble opinion, I think you need to change the way you're doing the forest to create more resilience through more mixed stands, and we haven't really started looking towards that direction yet. I hope I managed to answer.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. So does anyone else have their presentation?
Yes.
Cool.
Could someone else please share the presentation, because I think my PC will break down again.
Can do it.
Perfect. I was actually, I have a good comment on the bark beetle situation. I was working this spring in the Harz National Park here, and they also tried to do this, search the infected trees and salvage them, but they don't have enough resources to do that, so they leave big areas of infected trees there, cut down everything around it, and then just let it die naturally and plant beech under it. So yeah, they just don't have enough resources to cut down all infected trees. Okay, yeah, we made a small presentation about drought in Germany. Our main example is the National Park Hainich. Please go one slide further. Yeah, there you can see where the national park is. It's almost directly in the middle of Germany. It's a good water supply usually, and yeah, so it's not in the Brandenburg area where it's mostly dry. It's, yeah, it's good with water supply. It's an ancient woodland and also a UNESCO World Heritage Site, about 75 square kilometers of area, and it was one of the areas that was most affected by the drought in 2018, and they had an unprecedented dieback, mainly beech trees, and that was really new. And yeah, up to 30% of the older beech trees were damaged, and no one saw that, because like national park, no logging, the nature can do stuff for themselves, and then a lot of the beaches were affected. So we were really afraid as foresters. Okay, next slide, please. Yes, here can you see again the temperature anomalies from compared to 2003. So it has been much higher, and like this pink something is like 4 degrees more than normal, I think. And yeah, you can see how this happened in 2018. This is a picture of the potential vegetation of Fagus sylvatica. So you see Germany could been covered with Fagus sylvatica all over. And so we're really afraid by the news that the beech is dying a lot because of the drought. Okay, next one. Yeah, here you can see a picture again. That's the, no, not so fast, Simona. That's the, oh, I don't know what's called, but yeah, you can see, you can walk there. So it's a tree crown walk, I guess. And there you can see lots of beech damaged. And small crowns, small leaves. Okay, yeah, next one.
I think that's already the extra. Johannes?
I think you say something about that. I don't know anything about that.
Yes, okay. That's just a little extra because I'm from Italy. And so I just want to show a bit like the weather in Italy. And I think that drought is really just part of the landscape in Italy. It's like really, in Italy, so I have like, just this is the temperature and the precipitation plot of Rome. So not the most extreme place in Italy. There's still half of Italy southern of Rome. And you still see that in summer we have really high temperature and really low precipitation. And so basically, except from the mountains, all the vegetation needs to survive these 3 months or 3 dry months during the summer. So that's a picture of these typical Mediterranean shrubs, because with the drought, like you cannot really have big trees. So yeah, maybe the biggest tree are pines 10 meters high. Yeah, you can see some pines, olive trees, plants, just other random shrubs. And I think that's it. I think that like it's still interesting to see the rest. Like for you in Germany, beach, the dry is a big problem, but we never dream of having beach there. And so it's like kind of different.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that small excursion to Italy. And I think that was also our last slide. Yes, we have some resources. And this was it from German beach dieback stuff.
Thank you very much. And we have also a little post from Matusz from Slovakia. He says that his mic is not working. So if you don't mind, I would read it, and we can have a little chat about that after it. So in Slovakia, we have quite a big resources of high quality water in natural underground deposits. They are, however, endangered by toxic waste leaks from old chemical factories and mines. None in government seems to be bothered by this. From perspective of water retention in forests, we have not done so much to improve current situation. Thanks to bark beetles, we have lost a lot of spruce forests, so retention of water is close to non-existing. Bigger forestry companies and state forest company are trying to do something, but small forest owners are not interested in this topic. So that is not very nice. That doesn't feel good, but I guess that's how it is in Slovakia. Does anyone else have something about their country? Some presentation, or was this everything? Okay, so if there's no more presentation, we have prepared again a little quiz for you. And before that, I would like to just remind you that in the evening we will have a little creative time with Misha again. So you can be creative with her, I guess, and you will need, you said only 4 sheets of paper, or what was that? Yes?
Yes, 1 brown and 3 green. And if you don't have colored paper, just take the white paper. And you will need only also scissors and maybe a ruler, just to measure how big the sides are. Yes. And I didn't like make it before. I just wanted to ask Johannes if he could send the name of the place that you shown us with the walk, the
forest
among the trees. And I wanted to comment also, Karl. I wanted to ask if I'm not sure if I understood well, but you said that the production of the trees in Sweden will increase, right?
Yes, so in some areas, due to a longer vegetation period and sufficient water availability. So in the north, up there, it will increase according to the simulation. And where you do not have enough water, you won't really be able to take advantage of the longer vegetation period. So and there, most likely the growth and the stock will decrease. Could you understand that? A bit complicated.
Yeah, I think yes. It just seems to me a little bit different from our problem. I don't understand to this issue so good, but as I thought that we have the opposite problem, like we have less production, if I think right. But I don't want to confuse someone if it's not right. So I will stop my speech right now. And thank you for your answer. Yeah.
No, I think you're right, because if you take the southern part of Sweden, there I guess the conditions are more similar to Czech Republic, and there the water availability, you won't really have sufficient water as in Czech Republic, and therefore the production will decrease. But in northern parts, the situation is a bit different, because if it's very cold and a lot of snow and you can't really grow very well if you're a tree, then it's actually good if it gets warmer, if you have enough water.
Yeah, I didn't realize that in the north you have more snow than we have, so you have also more water with the snow because it melts later and with the warm. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
And I would also like to say big thanks to Shimon that he prepared his presentation too. And I will ask you later in Czech to give me more details about it.
Yeah, honestly, I don't have much more details, but I can send you the link.
Yeah.
Where I took it from.
Thank you. That's all from me. Thank you, guys. I guess I will prepare the quiz, right, Honza?
Yes, please prepare it.
Okay.
And in the meantime, I would like to just invite you for evening part of this meeting, where, as I said, there will be this creative time, and there will also be some presentations of applicants for pre-selected RRs, and tomorrow we'll have some lecture about Czech game management and traditions and hunting. So if you don't know about Central European traditional, we can call it game management, so you can connect and see how we do it. So Misha, can you please go ahead?
I'm sorry, it was so fast today. I have to find the quiz, so give me a few minutes, please.
Okay. So if there's anyone who haven't played with us or who haven't attended our Kahoot quiz, I can just recapitulate the rules. So I will once again type in the chat this address that you find in your internet browser or on your mobile phone, and Misha will share a PIN code for you, and you will just type the PIN code in it. You will select or type in your name and then answer questions. Yeah, it's as simple as that.
Okay, I have it. And I see we have some messages in the chat. Yeah, okay, so are you ready for the quiz? Can I share it?
Yes, please.
Okay. Tak. Can you see it?
Yes, NERM 2021 Kahoot 3.
Okay.
Have you checked the check mark for the music this time?
Yeah, I marked it, but I don't hear it.
So just start the game
Yeah.
and maybe you
Yeah.
will hear it.
Or maybe Honza can play some music in the background.
Yeah, I don't think so because only
Yeah,
the other
I
person
will
that
share
shares
the
the
screen.
screen. Yeah,
Okay.
just
Or I can play something on YouTube.
or you can sing for us.
You don't want to. Okay.
Yeah, now we hear music.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, what was the code?
It's here in the white stripe.
Yeah.
It's 5.
I will write it in the chat
Yeah.
if you want.
Okay.
Oh, thank you, Johannes.
You're welcome.
I can hear music.
Yes.
Okay, is there anyone else that wants to play and isn't connected yet? Or we can start?
Matush, are you connected? And Vladimir. And I also don't see Vodya. And Shimon.
I'll give you a chance again.
No, come on, join. I will beat you this time.
It seems that Johannes have studied our posts.
I try to.
So, guys, are you ready, or is someone still trying to join it?
Yes, remove Mona. No, we lost someone.
Who left the game?
I think Johannes is not.
That's true. Johanna, you are right.
Johannes.
Yeah.
Are you switching to Google, Johannes?
So
No.
let's start before Johannes leave it one more time. Okay. Is the music okay like this? Is it too loud or not?
That's okay.
Okay, so I'm going to press the start button, okay?
Yes. Yes. The blue one was a German one, right?
I don't know.
I don't know how I got it right. It was just luck. I thought I was going to lose.
Opel cars. Oh, I'm sorry. I mute myself.
Oh, that's fine.
Augustine, what time is it over there?
Like 10 a.m., almost 10 a.m. I wake up to work, but I found this night thing, so I get stuck and I haven't worked nothing.
Are we allowed? Are we allowed to check Instagram when answering? Because I'm not.
If you're able to find it that fast, so I guess so.
Okay. But I'm not, just so you know.
Damio, I'm not either because it's too difficult to search for it. Takes too much time.
To me, we can stop it here.
Yes. There are 7 more to go. Yes. What do you mean with C?
Loads of water.
Salt water.
The thing that's not nice in Germany.
You mean like the Baltic Sea or the ocean, right?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
This is a good one.
Is one of them the one from Brno, right?
The one from where?
One
Brno?
of them is the one from Brno.
No.
Is it? No.
No. Only the LDF. This is just the part. But
In
it's
Brno,
not-
actually, there is no abbreviation. It's like Mezinárodní spolek.
But LDF isn't that from Brno?
Yeah, LDF is Brno.
Yeah, that's why I choose that one, because I remember it was Czech Republic, and I just said that one. Guys, I said that we should have stopped a while ago.
Last questions, come on.
I think Barbara has too many time for Instagram.
Okay, we have still the same winners. all of you have already won one of the quizzes. I will write down the names.
I don't know how I got 5th place. I never knew nothing about Czech Republic or even saw the Instagram posts. I'm in a lucky day.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck it is.
So thank you for participating in our quiz. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe that you learned something new, probably. And yeah, I think that we'll see each other in the evening, where we have a little creative time with Misha again.
Yeah, origami tree.
Yeah. So make sure to bring some paper sheets and ruler and scissors, and we'll have a good time.
Yeah, and a pen or pencil. Okay, hope to see you there. Thank you for participating and for everything. Bye.
Bye for now.
You.
Bye.
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 Misha,
Yes.
should we talk about how we want to promote the evening tomorrow, the international evening?